Welcome to Social Jumpstart, the cable television program about social media. I'm Mike Wolpert, and our guest this week is Ann Hill. She's the founder of Creative Content Coaching. It's a blog, business, and a concept. Welcome to the show, Ann. Thanks.
Great to be here.
Listen, we talk a lot on this program about blogging, sure, about social media in general, obviously, but really what it comes down to is, what are you talking about? After we get by the initial presence in social media of what are you listening to, what are you talking about? The content. And you are the expert in helping people draw that out of themselves. Tell me a little bit about how you got started and what it's meant to people.
Sure. Well, I started out in education, actually. And so my whole approach to creating really great content is to figure out what people have to say and how they learn the best. So I can sort of tailor my approach to helping them, you know, jump over all of the hurdles that we all face, right? When we're talking about having a blog, there's a lot of places where you sort of stop and say, oh no, I can't do this. So getting over those is really important. So that's what I try and do. I try and make it accessible, make it easy, because as you know, it is easy now to start a blog and to get your content up there. And make it, you know, tailor-make it for whatever industry or whatever space that person is in.
So a lot of times people ask the question, should I blog or should I not blog? The answer is...
Well, I know you basically say yes, and I take a more of basically I want to know what they have to say first, because if they're comfortable writing, a blog I think is perfect for a more long form, say 3 paragraphs plus. But sometimes people don't really want to do that. They want to have a dynamic presence that keeps refreshing, but that has a smaller thing. Maybe they want to just link to an article, or they want to refer to something that somebody said in a webcast, say. So there's a lot of different formats. There's a short form format, and something like Tumblr could be a really great option for somebody if they don't want to do the whole WordPress thing. So it really depends on the complexity of the tool that they're comfortable with.
So when we look back in the dark days of blogging 5 years ago, things were a lot more, well, things started out to be a lot more complicated. Blogger made it pretty darn easy. WordPress made it pretty darn customizable. And really with very little web knowledge, you can get WordPress to work for you. But then you start looking at other solutions, Weebly, all drag and drop stuff, and Tumblr, which is kind of a whole different platform. But that makes it easier for people to almost become a content sharer as opposed to a content creator.
That's right. And people can even use their Facebook pages. If Facebook is about as fancy as they want to get in terms of a tool, you can use a Facebook page and update it very regularly. And that can work, provided that you have the links back to your main web platform and so forth.
Right. So the difference between a main web platform, because a website is a different animal entirely than a blog, although a blog can look like a website.
WordPress has really blurred that.
Right, very nicely, very nicely. But just for the definition, a blog is something that's a lot easier to update, a lot easier for the average business owner or person, or you do a lot of work with authors, so the average author to get in there and do the technology part of it.
Yeah, it's dynamic. You know, it changes every day. It doesn't have to be, it's not about perfection. It's about regularity.
Let's dig into that a little bit, because that's important. I get hung up personally on making sure everything's well crafted. So that equals my blog doesn't get updated as often as somebody who's willing to just whip out a paragraph. And the quality is not drastically different. It's my obsession over it. So it really is about getting stuff out.
Yeah. And so that's one of those little hurdles that people have to get over. They think that everything has to be perfect, when in reality, nobody really has time to every day craft a perfect thing. You know, you have to get out, you have to have a good enough aesthetic for your writing. The other thing is people get hung up over, oh, I have to do this every day or every week or else it doesn't work. And so what you see a lot on the web are blogs that have 2 months worth of consistent every week posting, and then it's been radio silence for a year and a half. So that's not really helping that person. It'd be better if they could just not be so worried about, you know, failure if they don't post every single week or twice a week. I mean, some people have these intense schedules that they try and hold themselves to, but really the deal is longevity. If you've had a blog up for, say, 2 years, and maybe you get a post up every week, but sometimes maybe it's every 2 weeks, sometimes maybe it's every month. There's longevity because you've had it for a while, and then there's consistency. Just keep doing it at whatever pace, and eventually you'll kind of figure out a pace that works for you. It does not have to be picture perfect. It does not have to be every 3 days a new piece of content. It just has to be good. So longevity, consistency, and quality.
Right, and the quality. A lot of times people think that they have to. I'm guilty. Think that they have to craft these brilliant 500,000, 15,000 word essays. That's not really a blog post, though. So there's value for people who just want to post a photo and a long caption. That counts, doesn't it?
That absolutely counts. In fact, yeah, photos, little videos, and again, it doesn't have to be, you know, this is low res, high value.
Right.
Right. It does not have to be super high resolution, super perfect production. It just has to have value, high value.
So somebody, a business owner, author, somebody that's operating a business that they want to connect with consumers, connect with customers and prospects by being the expert.
Yeah.
Perfectly acceptable in this day and age to sit down and use the webcam on your laptop.
Absolutely.
And you would then post it naturally to YouTube.
Sure.
For searchability.
For searchability.
Now, there are other places to post video.
Yeah. If you have a Facebook page for your business, you can post it right onto Facebook.
Right.
You can record it within the Facebook platform. I mean, that's how difficult can that be? That's so easy.
That's pretty darn easy. And then that video lives right on Facebook.
Right on Facebook.
And so if you have something to say, easy to just record it, and then if you don't like it, no big deal.
Just delete it.
Delete it.
2 minutes. I mean, literally 2 minutes, 3 minutes talking about whatever issue is hot in your space.
Right. And for video or audio or anything, under 2 minutes is okay too, because 60 seconds used to be in the radio business many years ago when they still had radio.
Right.
I don't know if they still do or not. 60 seconds is a lot of time to fill up.
That's right.
So tell me, when you're working with people, how do you help them get started? How do you have a business person come into you or a regular person who's got something within them?
Right.
What does that look like and where does it go?
The first thing I ask them is what their goal is. Where do they want to be in 5 years? Do they want to still be working for the same company but have influence within that area, within that industry? So are they looking to build influence? Are they looking to build a whole sideline and eventually become an entrepreneur and break with where they are and do their own thing? Or do they really just want a full practice? For instance, if you're a therapist, a psychotherapist, and you just, I just really want those 12 people per week. That's really all. I don't want to be an author, and I don't want to be a public speaker. So it really depends on the goal. And I help people try and figure out, a lot of people aren't sure. They know that they want to have something, but it's sort of a do-as-you-go thing.
Right.
So in that way, what you want to do is you want to leave your options open.
Right.
So I would say, well, okay, if you don't know exactly where you want to end up, start with something like a WordPress.com, a free hosted blog. To get your feet wet, you'll be able to repurpose the content and export it to wherever you end up.
Sure.
But that's such a wonderful, it's like a small step up.
As would Blogger or any of those.
Blogger too.
Nice and easy.
That's right.
And you find that people have this storehouse of knowledge, it seems, that more and more run into people who have this life accumulation of knowledge. And now, with all these platforms, how do you not share that? If you have a little bit of a bent to sharing it, it's really easy.
people really want to be able to share their expertise. They feel like, hey, what have I been doing for 20 years, getting to know all of this stuff? Say I'm a city engineer. I know all this stuff about infrastructure and about how cities ought to be built. How am I not sharing that? There's something extra that they really want to do,
right,
which is sort of benefit the greater good.
So if we take the opportunity to step into a bigger life, as we are wired to do,
right,
this gives us the opportunity to say, this part is my job. This is me.
Right.
So then blogging,
right,
no matter the form that it takes, because it gives people the opportunity to be more of themselves.
Yeah.
And that turns people on, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, it's
and
fun.
You know, it makes work a lot more fun. Because you're getting that work-life balance. You're bringing your you're bringing what you know into a fuller expression, and that just makes everything go better.
Right. If one is lucky enough to have a job that is suited to one's passion, which I thought I did. Now I find other things that juice me as I get older, marginally, a little bit older. But not everybody has that. Sometimes just a job is a job, but you do accumulate knowledge on a professional level. So sharing that professional knowledge, I mean, you might be extremely passionate about orchids.
Yeah.
But your job is a city planner.
Right.
Your vast storehouse of knowledge may be in the future of cities.
Right.
So you can mix, but that's kind of odd, or you can do both.
Yeah.
Or you can just really focus in some ways using blogging platforms, just to expand your knowledge base.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about knowledge base.
Well, first I want to back up just a little bit because you said something about expressing yourself and so forth. And one other reason that people might want to start a blog is because, especially with this economic shakeup, there's a growing sense that my job that I thought was my security is not actually my security. And people are saying, okay, well, my only real security is in what I know and who I am. And so a lot of people start to blog with the idea of creating another revenue stream, a passive revenue stream. If they can bring their blog posts together into a book, they start to generate another way. And so that's a way to safeguard against really the insecurity of working for a larger firm that may or may not survive as long as you want it to, or that job may or may not be there in a year or 2 years.
So 10 years ago, we might have walked around with all that value tucked away inside, only available when called on. Now we have an opportunity to share it.
Right.
And people think, so let's talk a little bit about beyond the borders of blogging, which to me was WordPress, a blogger for starters.
Right.
I had a terrible blog on Blogger for a long time called A Selling Life. I think it's still dusty and up there.
Yeah, but I have a couple that I have one post.
But now it can be also, you can begin to interweave your outposts, as I call them, or platforms, as they're probably more accurately called. So I create a piece of content, and that's such an awkward word, isn't it? I write something that I care about, something that I know about.
Right.
Then I take that paragraph, 3 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, and I can do a lot of stuff with it, can't I?
Sure.
And that's critical to getting found.
Yeah.
So would you take your blog posts and make sure that you put them on LinkedIn, of course?
Put them on LinkedIn, yeah. If you don't join groups on LinkedIn, you're actually missing a lot of the value of that platform because there's so many groups that are industry specific.
And that's part of the knowledge base concept.
That's part of the knowledge base concept. That's right. So you need to engage in those conversations. So yeah, the knowledge base idea is sort of the counter to getting your voice out there. The knowledge base is about listening to who else is out there and expanding your network to include people who are influential or who are just really smart or wise, have something to say that's interesting.
Right.
So using Twitter, LinkedIn to make those connections with people gives you the content and the input that will help you create the best content, because you're part of these really important and fascinating conversations online.
Right. So that steps back a little bit to the first stage, really, of social media, which is listening. So you can join groups on LinkedIn and listen to the luminaries talking about what you already know about. The idea there, of course, is instead of trying to reinvent the wheel every time you go to do something, just go find the wheel that people are using.
Right.
You know, there's already a conversation going on about whatever somebody's interested in.
Yeah.
So they can go and listen to that conversation for inspiration, which will probably trigger within them a, series of events, which leads to them contributing back to that community, which then that information can be posted to their blog, whatever platform they choose.
Absolutely.
And then can be shared on their Facebook page through Twitter.
Yeah.
They could take that script, read it to their webcam, make a video.
You bet. Even if you comment on somebody's blog, say in the marketing space, Chris Garrett is a really big name, right? So if you comment on Chris Garrett's blog, you have the opportunity to tweet that I contributed to this conversation.
Right.
So the echo chamber is really easy, and it's pretty vast at this point. But social media tools and social skills kind of go hand in hand, and it's important for people to understand how best to approach a conversation that's going on. I mean, one of the rules that I try and hold myself to, my resolution this year is to follow my own advice. So what I try and do is, if I'm reading something that somebody's written on their blog or on LinkedIn maybe, and I really want to, I have something to say, first I read everything that people have written about it, because I don't want to repeat. I don't want to just say, yeah, that's right, what he said. You know, that doesn't add any value to the conversation.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I'm not repeating something somebody else said, and that I have a new perspective, some sort of fresh perspective. And so I think that brings the most value to that ongoing conversation. And in the end, people really do judge you by the quality of your input.
Right. And that threaded kind of conversation, which is really unique to social media, can take place within a LinkedIn group, but it can also take place within Facebook, on a Facebook post, where
absolutely,
and that's something that other platforms don't really do as well, as elegantly as the LinkedIn groups and the Facebook pages, where now you're not having a conversation. You're adding value to the original statement, but now you're in conversation with 20, 200 people, depending on the size of the group.
Yeah, Facebook is a really interesting platform for what we're talking about, because, you know, it's great for brands. If you have a brand, whether it's like you're a landscape design firm, for instance, right down here around Battery, there's, you know, a lot of big firms, design and architecture, so forth. Then you can actually build that brand and have stuff that reaches this really vast audience. But if you say, again, I have a client who's a psychotherapist, and she said she really wants a Facebook page, and I'm saying, why? If you're going for more clients, Facebook is not. You want to be visible on local search.
Right.
You don't need a Facebook page. You need to make sure that you've claimed your Yelp, your business on Yelp, and that people can get to you, and that you have clients post review, that sort of thing. So it really comes back again to, where do you want to be?
But you mentioned a few minutes ago the difference that social was part of social media.
Yes.
The broadcast stuff that worked forever, the advertising. I think this really is the difference between advertising and marketing. And that social media stuff is the connection, where you're really, you're going to lose if all you do is go, we are the coolest,
That's
are the
right.
coolest.
Yeah.
So better to do this kind of engaged conversation. And tell me, what would you tell people who say, yes, 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 now what? I just don't know what to do. Sometimes it's that first step, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So the best thing to do is start small.
Okay.
Right? Take those, you know, if you imagine social media as this bus, right? You want it to go sort of, you know, how it lowers down so it's easy to step up.
Okay.
That's what you want. You want the easy step up. And so, yeah, if they're just playing around, I mean, it's easy to start, just to go onto WordPress.com and start messing around.
Start a blog.
Start a blog. I mean, it takes, what, a minute?
No, I don't know. You can always take it down if you don't like it.
You can always take it down. And so the other thing is that once you start a blog, or say you start a Facebook page, and then after a while you think, yeah, no, my goal is changed. I actually want to do something different. Social media is, I mean, for all that our content lives forever, it's also very forgiving. You can tighten your focus and you can switch your strategy midstream.
Right.
I mean, that's the beauty of all of the versatility of a tool like WordPress, for instance.
Right.
If you decide, no, I started it out with this theme and because I thought I was going to post pictures every day, not so much. You know, I actually want to write. I have 2 or 3 paragraphs I want to write every day, and maybe I'll have a picture or not. No problem.
Right.
You just put up a different theme and you focus on a different aspect of your content. You can rewrite your about page if you want to focus on something in your bio that maybe that was sort of downplayed or that you didn't even think of when you actually started.
Right.
Go ahead, refocus. I mean, that's the great thing about WordPress for entrepreneurs, really.
Right. So the days of having to come up with a brand message and stick to it no matter what,
right,
that may still be applicable for gigantic brands. So we're not really talking
Right.
about the McDonald's and the Coca-Colas of the world. What we're talking about is the people who want to make a medium-sized place for
Right.
themselves, a
Right.
small place for themselves on the internet, and show, because a lot of what we're talking about today is the idea that the internet and social media and the platforms serve as a gigantic resume.
Yes.
Because if I was going to go to a therapist, heaven knows I probably ought to, if I was going to go to a therapist, would I be more likely to go to one who has written a half a dozen articles that I can find, or one that has a telephone book listing?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're talking about.
That's right. Yeah, making sure that that your expertise is highlighted.
Right.
And that what you have to say that's important for people to know is accessible to people, that the people that are looking for, whether it's a fitness expert, a trainer, or whether it's a therapist, or whether it's an architect, or a gardener, or anything.
So I love your analogy of the bus that comes up to pick you up and goes and lowers down. So the lowest bar, the bar to entry has really been lowered. So if people want to just go to Blogger is a Google company, so a great place to get found.
Yeah.
Picasa or Flickr, great place to post photos and short videos.
Yeah.
YouTube, Vimeo, Blip for longer videos.
Yeah.
Now, the content, the idea, what they're talking about, can be pretty much the same.
Yeah.
An inspirational photo, a photo of what goes on. If you're running a business, kind of behind-the-scenes photo, that can go Facebook, on your blog, up to Flickr, Picasa, whatever photo sharing sites you want to do. Then you can have your blog organized around WordPress or Tumblr or Blogger, depending on what best suits your needs. And people should get out and give each one of those a little test. Give
it a test run, but think of a restaurant. Right, up in Marin. Say we're talking about a Marin restaurant that's got a Google Places presence. That's they've got their hours of business. They've got the map and they've got a few reviews. If they want to blog, it would be a no-brainer to start on Blogger. As you say, it's Google-based.
Right.
Flickr is also right there.
Right.
And then they can go on Google Plus and have it just sort of all ties together. It's a great way to integrate your platform. And yeah, you can do a 2-minute video talking to your new employee.
Right.
You got a new server.
From your phone.
From your phone.
Or from a little video camera.
This is not difficult.
Can you give me just a couple of quick specific examples?
Sure. For instance, one of my clients is a realtor.
Right.
And so she needed to figure out what to do. You know, realtors have these sort of built-in blogs with the website presence of their company. And she wanted to do all this fancy stuff. And I said, well, if somebody comes to your real estate company, they're going to look at all these agents. The thing that's going to stand out for them is your About page. You really need to actually have a good presence, something that people can, you know, get a hook to you. And so start there. And then, of course, I mean, video, as you were saying, YouTube or local search is a really important thing for a real estate professional. So, yeah, she started doing short videos of not just listings, but towns where she represented a lot of clients. And she'd go up, you know, she'd look at the main street and talk about the main street. So there was a little bit, you got her personality and you got a little snapshot of the town. And it's a very short video, but it just added enough to her online presence that people, when they were looking for her, looking for a realtor, they said, oh, she's doing this interesting stuff. So that was real estate. And then, you know, I have another client who's in tech. Now, tech is a really, as you know, like huge online presence in that space. And so this person had been working for an IT firm for years and wasn't really cued into all of the social media that was going on. And so our approach was to start on Twitter, because all the big people in the tech industry are on Twitter, and you figure out you figure out who to follow to stay current. And then what you do on Twitter is you take a look at who that person is following. And so you gradually expand your knowledge base to have really a snapshot of what the influencers in your industry are talking about and where they're thinking that our trends are going. So you start there. And over a couple months, we were able to sort of get narrowed down, and he was able to figure out, okay, this is how I want to approach it. This is how I want to start my blog now. I've kind of gotten a sense of where the conversation's going, and now here's my place in it.
Great. Perfect. So that's, there is something for everybody.
There is.
So in a nutshell, what we've learned today is find what fits, get started, do what you can, and keep at it.
That's right.
You make it sound pretty darn easy.
It is.
Ann Hill, thank you very much for being on the show.
Great to be here.
And thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Social Jumpstart, the cable television program about social media. See you online and next time.